Yep, it's going. Hello, Big Brother fans. I'm hoping that this is going to be okay. Here we are, episode 36, the finale of Big Brother 15. I'm sorry that I was missing for the last week. It's just been kind of hectic. Sunday's show was really nothing to even comment about anyway. It was kind of a big waste of our time. Anyway, let's get going. Part one of the HOH was roller skating, and as you saw, Gina Marie won. That was really cute. It was actually leaked on the feed, so we got to see, I would say, like the last 5 to 10 minutes of the competition on the feeds. Um, Part two was going to be between Spencer and Andy, and it was like a wall, kind of like under the sea mode, and they had to go down the wall and find pictures and then climb the wall to place them in the order in which the house guests were evicted. And Andy won that competition, kind of a shoe-in for winning that one, since Spencer is um, physically unfit to do these endurance competitions. And, sadly, he wasted the entire summer. He could have been working out with Andy, and I mean, he did do a couple of times, but, it ended up being in his downfall anyway. So part three then would have to be between Andy and Gina Marie, and whoever won that HOH would be the person who determined who would come with them to the final two. However, they showed Gina Marie in the DR crying that she was torn about not knowing what to do and who to take. Earlier during the week, in the feeds as I was watching, she told both of them that she was going to take them to the final two, and Andy said the same thing, and Spencer said the same thing. And basically what they were doing was they were just kind of ensuring the fact that by saying, I'm taking you with me, that if that person won the final HOH, that they would take that other person with them. And then through the week, they would have little powwows, like whenever Jean Marie would be in the DR, Spencer and Andy would start talking, and Andy would immediately start enumerating the reasons why she shouldn't be taken with him, and Spencer would, help with that list, of course, because he wanted to be taken. And then the same thing would happen with between Spencer and Gina Marie. And then the last couple of days, it was all of a sudden it was Gina Marie and Andy, and all of a sudden Andy is starting to act kind of weird to Spencer in the house, like when they'd have their little powwows, he wouldn't be like, yeah, don't worry, I'm taking you. Blah, blah, blah. He became a little bit more distant and a little more evasive. And Spencer wasn't stupid, because eventually when he got kicked out, he told Julie the same things that I noticed. He noticed. He wasn't stupid. Anyway, they had Dr. Will go in and talk to the jury, which I thought was a pretty good addition this year for some reason. I think that they need somebody to go in and remind them that it's a game, and they should consider it as a game, and they should consider every move that was made was done because it is a game. And while it is hard to separate your feelings from the game, because you do make friendships with these people, and then the next thing you know you're out. So I think that he was there and was kind of like a little guiding hand that reminded them about that, brought up the issues, saw if they had settled them. Some did, some didn't. And then he advised them to get their questions together, because they were allowed to ask each of the remaining house guests 3 questions, and so they all had to make sure that they agreed with the questions that were going to be asked. Anyway, part 3 comes, and it's Andy and Gina Marie, and they're on like the scales of justice, which is kind of interesting. And basically they took it's pretty much the same thing. They ask each house guest to answer a question, and they have like 2 different ways that it could be completed. Anyway, and it ends up that Andy wins that one, and so Andy won the final HOH, which made him tie, I believe, with the amount of HOHs with Aaron. Um, Anyway, Andy votes out Spencer, stating that he had a final two with Gina Marie from day one, which everyone, who watches the feed was like, what? The feeds didn't come in on day one. I believe it started on day two, maybe day three. And so we didn't get to see, well, maybe it was even day, I think they were in the house for 7 days before they started the feeds, if I'm not mistaken. Um, anyway, so everyone was shocked. But when, like Spencer pointed out, when he started putting two and two together, like, Andy would never put Gina Marie up, even though everybody in the house wanted her up, et cetera, et cetera. He said it did make sense. So that was interesting only because you didn't see any of it, nor did you see powwows. It wasn't really an alliance so much as I'll keep you safe or something like that. I'm not sure. Anyway, basically it ends up that it was more in his favor to take her with him because, face it, he's a public speaker and she's Gina Marie. Anyway, that's that with that. Then we have the jury asking questions. Gina Marie was asked, "What is your by Amanda? What was your biggest game move other than getting rid of me?" And she didn't get it, and she was like, well, from the before that, I was wanting to get you out, and she was like, no. Other than getting me out, what was your biggest game move? And she goes, but that's what, it's like, I wanted you out before I got you out. So she totally didn't understand that question. And, McCrae turns around and looks at Amanda like, huh? But hello, it's Gina Marie. Andy was asked what was his biggest game move, and he said aligning himself with the McCrandas and convincing the very beginning, convincing them to put up Alyssa to put up Nick in the very beginning of the game. I guess the demolishing of the moving company is pretty much what he was trying to get to. Gina Marie, what was your biggest obstacle to overcome in the game? And it's straight back to Nick. Whatever. Andy was asked by McCrae, you said that you would be a bitter jury member, so what makes you think we should vote for you when, you sent us out and we've become bitter jury members? And he said he felt so terrible about it and apologized and said it was just to cover his ass, that, he didn't want people to go into, into that thing, thinking that, don't let me go, I'll be bitter, blah, blah, blah. And he said that he would not indeed be bitter at all. He said he was sorry for the backstabbing and that he is not a terrible person. Gina Marie was asked by Candace, you have offended many of the jury members, calling us cockroaches, etc. Why would we vote for you? And she said, well, I was upset because of Nick. Every time I hear Nick, I just want to cringe. The money would change her life and make her dreams come true. That's basically, her spiel. Andy, you need 5 votes. Why? Why? Jesse asked us. Why did you unnecessarily, I guess, keep things from them? Or I forget how it was said. And he said partly because I'm a coward. And he apologized, but he didn't know how want to tell them because he didn't want them to rat him out, about his alliances or the things that were going on, and having an entire week to work that magic, So I get it, but I still do not get it because there were times when they knew they were going to go, and yet they continued that oh no, don't worry, you're safe kind of thing, that's just kind of ridiculous, but whatever. Spencer was allowed to have the last question, and he said to Andy, you cost me a lot of money, bro, why, why should I vote for you when you voted me out? And then he said, you know, I knew you would ask, that everybody would question his loyalty. So you know, he said, but GM and I were, you know, together from day one, and he always wanted to keep his word to her. So that was his spiel. And then they talked a little bit to the first 5 evicted members of the jury. But first, Julie wanted to solve Amanda's constant, you know, wondering about the MVP. And so she told her, yes, the first 3 weeks it was Alyssa, but the last 3 weeks and 2 times you were voted to be put on the block, it was America. And Amanda said, you know, I did guess it was America, but, you know, she wasn't sure until that she didn't think that she was disliked until she was leaving and was booed by the audience. And then she said that's when she really knew that it was America. She talked to Howie. And Howie said that, you know, he didn't realize the severity of the comments that were being made, and when he's saying this, he's talking about the racist comments, the racial personal issues that were consistent. He refused to watch the live feeds because it would infuriate him, and he just hopes that the house guests will grow from it, mature from it, and own it, and grow from the inside out. So you know, I think he's kind of letting it go. I watched the live feeds, by the way, and he's on the bold and beautiful, which is interesting because that was one of his goals while he was in the house. He said he was hoping that he would be seen and he would be able to get some kind of a gig in acting or whatever. So there you go. Yay, Howie. Julie told the house guests that the racial comments made the national headlines, and Spencer said that, yeah, he understands that the language is really foul and that there were some terrible comments, and he hates it. He hates that. He was part of that, you know, but then he asks Julie if he was or did or said anything, and she just replied, you know, we don't have time for that. So that was his little cue. Um, so some of these house guests are in for a slightly rude awakening when they finally finish this backyard interviews. Aaron is learning a little bit about it. You know, somebody told her that she was fired by her modeling agency, and she says, no, I wasn't. And he's like, oops, I guess they forgot to tell you. And then she said she's going to be writing a book about her time in the house, as well as, hang on, that she'd had 5 different offers from modeling agencies there in LA. Julie said that there was a 500% increase in fan votes this year, and whoa, that was crazy. Sorry, my screensaver came on and I've not seen it yet. It's a brand new computer. And I'm going to tell you that part of the reason is the fact that because of that, the headlines, you know, national headline news. It made people tune in. It increased the ratings for the show. And I have to admit that 15 years of watching this, I have probably voted about 10 times, maybe. And that would mostly be for America's Choice, you know, like the final person, or probably, you know, like the food, you know, what we choose for them to have when they're a have-not, that kind of stuff. 10 times, and I think you're, you know, over a course of a season, you're given about 5 different times that you can call in and make a choice. So 10 years. You know, I mean, 10 times over 15 years and 5 choices during each one. You know, 45 choices. This year, I voted on almost anything and everything that I was allowed to vote for MDT, and America's Choice. I voted personally 5 votes for Judd and 5 for Alyssa. Why did I vote for Alyssa? Knowing that she would more than likely win this, and by the way, she won it. I did that solely for the fact that Andy said that he would die if she won it. And I was like, I wasn't an Andy fan. I was an Andy fan in the beginning, and towards the end when um, game talk was no longer necessary, and the way he continually bashed Alyssa at the end. And I mean, I like Alyssa, don't get me wrong, but I wasn't like a huge Alyssa fan. I thought she had a wonderful sense of humor. I admired some of the stances that she took. Um, I know that she wasn't, a perfect person, and she did do her little passive aggressive digs, or, she didn't want to own it tonight during the finale. But um, some of the things that they did and they said about her and her son were just absolutely unwarranted. There was no reason. The game was over, so I was just not an Andy fan. I wasn't a fan of any of the final three, to tell you the truth. Anyway, the votes came through. Spencer, McCrae, Alyssa, Amanda, and Helen, Jesse, and Candace all voted for Andy, and Gina Marie got Judd and Aaron. And after they got out, Gina Marie went straight to Nick, and pretty much that's that with that. Sorry this is so incredibly long. Next year, I do plan on doing more of the what's on the feeds today thing. When I do watch the feeds, I will, do a lot more of the spoiler-ish stuff. I don't think that many of the people mind spoilers. If you do mind spoilers, let me know below, so that I will continue to put, spoiler in the stuff, and I'll, try to not, be careful about making sure that I edit myself when I'm talking, like, episode review type stuff. Anyway, people, it was fun. There were a couple of you who have become more, you know, uh, stable watchers and have been commenting. I appreciate that. That's a lot of fun to interact with you. And I will see you all next year for Big Brother 16. Let's hope that they get a more dynamic, awesome crew next year. All right, see you later. Bye.